this is Famika Capricorn, and this is Topics and Conversation. And in today's discussion, we are talking about a Hunter College professor who is under fire after her hot mic on Zoom, where she is caught calling the students dumb for wanting to save their school that was getting ready to be closed down. And so we're going to proceed with, well, let me give a context. So Hunter College says it's reviewing whether an associate professor adherent comments during a public school meeting violated university policy after the remarks were caught on camera and widely condemned. The incident took place on this year, February the 10th, at a Community Education Council District 3 meeting, a public forum where families, students, and educators on Manhattan's West Side were debating proposed schools closures and relocations. The school that is in question is one of the schools that are set to be closed. And the students, teachers, and some faculty members were speaking to why this school deserves to stay open. And it goes on to say, according to recordings and reporting, the professor identified as Allyson Friedman. Here on your screen to the left side in the single picture frame, even though they blurred her out in the Zoom, this is her in the top left side. According to recordings and reporting, the professor identified as Allyson Friedman, a tenured associate professor in the biology department at Hunter College, was logged into the meeting virtually when she appeared to believe her mic was muted. At one point, as a Black middle school student spoke emotionally about why she didn't want her school to shut down, Freeman was heard interrupting, saying verbatim, "They're too dumb to know they're in a bad school," Freeman said. She continued, "If you train a Black person, they'll know to use the back." The remark appeared to reference a quote shared earlier in the meeting by interim acting superintendent Reginald Higgins, who cited historian Carter G. Woodson Wiley as the father of Black history and his writings on internalized oppression. Amazing that she would use his point against a Black girl to disrespect her. And so, with that being said, here is the video in question.
He delivers lessons and helps us fit those skills into our lessons.
Black schools that like they're too dumb to know they're in a bad school.
Independent in our class.
I mean, apparently Martin Luther King said it. Like, if you train a Black person well enough, they'll know to use the back. You don't have to tell them anymore. They're just
Allyson Friedman. What you're saying is absolutely hearable here. You got to stop.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sweetie. Go ahead, baby. I'm sorry.
Me and many of the students in our classes that were basketball.
And that was the end of that video. And that's from the New York Post, per me citing this video and showing it to you. And I have reactions from people that had a lot to say about this. And I agree with everybody, pretty much.
For y'all to send Allyson Friedman to the nearest unemployment office, all right? If you are unaware about what happened, let me tell y'all, okay? So apparently Miss Allyson can't mute her mic, all right? But I digress. But anyways, over there in Manhattan, there was a Zoom call, okay? So I'm guessing over there in Manhattan, you know, there are some schools that are facing closures, right? So that was on the Zoom call, and they had this little Black girl. She was speaking about her school. Whole time that she was speaking, speaking, Allyson chimed in and was like, they are too dumb to realize that they are in bad schools. And then she went on to say that, if you train a black person, long enough to use the back door, you don't got to tell them anymore. And at this point, whoever told her to stop talking,
She was just basically using the old woman's quote. When people, I've heard older people say that, calling you dumber than a doorknob. I've heard older people say that. And so when they say you train them long enough to use the door, then you don't have to train them anymore. So they're calling you dumber than a doorknob, basically, is what that means.
saying, we can hear you, okay? They only told her to stop because they can hear her. They did not tell her to stop because what she said was despicable, right? So my thing is, Miss Allyson Friedman, since you know so much about training, how about you go down to the unemployment office and let them train you there?
And that's one video. Here's the next.
Friedman, the woman who you heard saying something very problematic about black children in that clip from the viral Zoom call. Now, I know a lot of content creators have already made their takes on this, but we're going to watch the clip and I'm going to give you a different perspective as a former school leader on what I see and what I've seen.
Students on Friday. He delivers lessons and helps us fit those skills into our lessons.
Black schools that like
This helps
they're
us
too dumb to know they're in a bad school.
independent in our class.
I mean, but apparently Martin Luther King said it. Like, if you train a black person well enough, they'll know to use the back. You don't have to tell them anymore. They just
Allyson Friedman, what you're saying is absolutely hearable here. You've got to stop.
Now, what you're watching is one of two things. Either that's a charter school renewal where they're trying to get their charter extended or renewed, or it's a school that is potentially closing down and they're having a hearing which they allow people from the community to come on and speak, which can include kids from the schools, families from the schools, to share why they think that the school should not be closed down. But what I want to talk about is the number of white folks who go into education for the wrong reasons, thinking that they are going into these neighborhoods with black children and they are going to be the savior, or they end up being paternalistic because they believe that they know what's best for black children. And see, here's the thing. She absolutely believes that the kids are not smart enough to know what's best for them, but I can guarantee you that she has not even gone into that school and spent an entire day to see what a day in the life of that child looks like. See, people like her have sat in classrooms to get their degrees, but don't actually do any research or studies on what kids actually need outside of curriculum. That's it. That's where the buck stops for people like her. And the fact that she was so candidly speaking that way, we should know that she speaks like that amongst her peers, which means that we're putting people out into the workforce who don't actually believe that black and brown kids can achieve or do well in school. And the kids feel that, know that, and are less successful because you've already come in with the mindset that they don't have the intelligence enough to know what is good for them. I've had white people come in and tell me what they think is best for black and brown children, as though I was not a black boy and I'm not a grown-ass black man. So I can tell you that they believe that they're smarter than everyone else. The only difference between her and the rest of them is that she got caught.
That's a good opinion. And I myself have subbed at a charter school and a regular elementary school. And my experience, honestly, is that in some of these schools, the work environment is toxic. So imagine how that runs off on your child when the environment is negative. And then you have teachers. I have been around teachers that do not care about kids, and they have very low patience for children, yet they are teachers that have went to school to be a teacher. I only subbed to have the experience to see if that's what I wanted to do, and it was definitely not my judge. Even though I would not mind working with kids, it's just the environment of the school system itself, how it's set. It's very negative. And it can be, like I say, very toxic. The energy is thick and the tensions can be thicker. If you I just learned to concentrate on my love of when I was subbing the kids and not pay attention to the energies around me. But still, it can rub off on those children. I've seen teachers be disrespectful to kids when they don't have patience for them and talk about children instead of helping the child. They will talk about your child, how they look, how they dress. If even kids aren't angels, okay? They're not going to always act their best every day. So they'll talk about that and like that's probably how their mom and daddy is. But I'm like, okay, if they're acting like playing all the time, I mean, that doesn't mean they're like out of control. If you could pull them aside and talk to the child, you maybe can get something out of them. Or if you communicate it with the parent, you maybe can get some pointers on how to deal with the child. Like I have an 8-year-old, and a pointer would be to a teacher is if they act up, you tell them they won't be going outside or playing the game or playing with their favorite toy. A child hates to hear that. That is defeat to them. So a lot of these teachers don't even try to communicate with the parents unless you have a conference meeting with them. So it's a lot going on in these schools that it's not good. It's a lot of people. I see why they homeschool their children because, like I say, teaching is nothing like it used to be when we were in school. It's nothing like it used to be. The teachers are not dedicated. They don't have patience. They have attitudes because they don't like each other, and so that attitude and that energy passes and spews onto your child, and they don't. I want to say they don't even know it, but if you grown, you know when you're taking out something on a child, and then too, they lose the good teachers because of that negative environment in schools. So yeah, it can be very sad about how they are going about things. And I'm gonna play the next 3 videos. Here's one.
Video out, and I want you to really listen to it, and I'll speak about it after.
On Friday, he delivers lessons and helps us fit those skills into our lessons.
Bad schools that like
This helps
they're too dumb to know they're in a bad school.
independent in our class.
I mean, apparently Martin Luther King said it. Like if you train a black person well enough, they'll know to use the back. You don't have to tell them anymore. They just
Allyson Friedman, what you're saying is absolutely hearable here. You've got to stop.
I'm sorry, sweetie. Go ahead, baby. I'm sorry.
Me and many other students in our classes and with that
Did you hear that? That was a college professor speaking about an 8th grade child, about her school being closed. I just want you to suck that in. So whenever somebody says, well, America has changed for the better in so many different ways, there's always a group of people that takes the time to sit in a circle and talk about people of color. Don't matter what phase of life, what job, it's always a group. My thing is, those groups need to be made uncomfortable as shit. People should be pointing those groups out. These are the places that we need to have a safe space in our country. Be racist on your own time. You got home, go home, talk to your friends on the phone, all of that. If you know you're racist, there's no reason you should be a school teacher. There's no reason you should be a police officer. There's no reason you should be an attorney. There's no reason you should be a judge. There's no reason you should be a doctor. There's no reason you should be an EMT.
Or a president. But go on.
Help people. And if you have a problem with somebody, that means more than likely you're not going to do the best to help these type of people because of the color of their skin. And for everybody else that don't understand, this is why we have to work so hard. We have to work 10 times hard because you got to get around all these obstacles that are put in our way because there are people that will fuck your kids up, like that lady, from every level of grade school, elementary, middle school, high school. There'll be one in every fucking school, 1 or 2 or 3 of them or whatever, in every school. And they will mess your kids up if you don't stay on top of them because they don't give a damn about your kids. And this is why we raise our kids tough as hell, because all the shit, and all I had was girls. So I had to make sure that they knew exactly what the hell's going on out here from a woman's standpoint and understanding men in a men-dominated world. Even though women outnumber us, they still had to understand the type of shit they was going to be dealing with. That ain't got nothing to do with the color aspect of it. So you put all that shit in one box, and then there you go. You got the black experience. I hope that video shows some people. Every damn time I post one of these videos, it gets a little bit of play. I know some people are like, ugh, let me back up from it. But I'm trying to show this is exactly the shit that everybody, person of color, has to deal with from every aspect of life in some form or fashion. Y'all have a good night.
About you all, but I want to thank Allyson Friedman. Yes, thank you, Allyson Friedman, the associate professor at Hunter College. So by now, many of you, excuse me for chuckling, I'm actually loving this. So many of you by now should have seen the whole viral video of the Zoom call where there was a council meeting recently regarding some potential school closings in New York City. And the meeting was, I think, being facilitated perhaps by the mayor, or at least initiated by the mayor and the borough president and some children in the community and professors and teachers, etc., etc., etc. But at one point, there was a young African-American girl in the 8th grade, and she was advocating for her school and her teacher. And in the midst of her advocating and speaking so eloquently about her teacher, Miss Allyson Friedman, who was unbeknownst to her mic was unmuted, decided to speak or make a comment. And if you all don't know by now, the comment was something along the comment was, they're just too dumb to know that they're in a bad school. And then she goes on to mention something about civil rights or Martin Luther King, and supposedly a comment that he made about black people being trained to go through the back door. But that was all afterwards, and that's part of her apology afterwards, as she was trying to explain to her child in the home about it, yada, yada, yada. Right. So in the midst of this, Brian Siegel, who was also president, he's a borough of Manhattan president, he makes a comment, and he says, Allyson Friedman, what you're saying is absolutely horrible. Well, with all due respect, Mr. Siegel, what about saying, excuse me, Miss Allyson Friedman, associate professor, what you're saying is absolutely disgusting and abhorrent. But he says horrible. Okay, now back to Miss Allyson Friedman. I'm just so glad that you have shown me and you have shown us and millions of others what you really think of our people. Right. I'm just happy. But you know what? In your defense, Allyson, you're also showing us what systemic racism is all about. Right? It's not something overt. Someone said in another post, "Oh, I had her as a teacher and she did not present this way." I want to say, girl, ever who you are, wake up. Systemic is underneath, it's ingrained. So, yes, many of the undercover racists will present in a pleasant way. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. Of course, they're going to smile, many of them. Right. They have mouths to feed, they have salaries to make, they have huge salaries to continue to make. So, of course, I would expect somebody like her to present pleasant. But nonetheless, I greatly appreciate Allyson showing millions of us who she really is, and really showing us what systemic racism is all about. So, folk, happy Black History Month. What a Black History Month we have had thus far. A lot. But thank you, Allyson Friedman. Good luck. Folk, follow me for more. Remember, engage from the bottom up. And yes.
And that was the end of that video, and he did very well on addressing that. And I agree with everything he said pertaining to her. And the young man before that, saying that there's always a few of them in the school. It's the fewest beginning to be many, because like I say, it's a whole host of teachers that can be in school, and they'll click up just like high schoolers in a high school. And they will dogpile on a child that they have a particular problem with, instead of solving the problem as educators. They will agitate the situation instead. And yes, we have people like this should not be in office. And this is what happens. I mean, they shouldn't be teachers, but look who we have as the president. I mean, we watched him do nothing but was ready to shout all night long at an address to the world instead of addressing the many problems. And so it just trickles down to people revealing themselves as who they are. And this is who they are. They are agitators. And they do mean to mentally, verbally, and emotionally harm your child. And it's a shame that it's a lot of them in the elementary schools around our babies. And so they have to live with this all the way up through middle and high school. And they wonder why these kids have attitudes and go off the way they do. Because some teachers actually, I've watched some teachers actually provoke students knowing that they're going to take the bait to get in trouble. And that's what they wanted all along, just to get them out of there. So there are not, and I'm not saying all teachers are bad. I'm just saying somebody that has subbed before in elementary, middle, and high school, that I've seen it and I have witnessed it secondhand, that there are teachers in this system that should not be working as teachers at all. And it should be a complete overhaul. It should be an inspection of some kind, but it's not going to happen because, and that's why we have a teacher shortage. Those are the good teachers that don't want to be in that environment anymore. So it's a shame that this has happened, and we can sit here and say that, yeah, we've all worked around somebody like that, and this is what it is. And that's unacceptable for a child to have to live through and some kids already have to deal with a bully, then to have to deal with a teacher that's also, a bully. Because we do have those in the school system right now, even as I speak. And if she's up there calling this child dumb and that baby heard that, imagine just how kids like that on a regular feel when they're actually being done like this, that we don't know about, that we don't get to see and hear. At least we got to see and hear this. God works in mysterious ways. She thought her mic was off, and it was actually on, and we heard what we needed to hear. So like he said, we should be glad, that we was able to see who she was and know how she was. And instead of them scorning her, telling her that she was hearable. And that's the society we live in, where adults don't even know how to make other adults accountable, even if it's out loud. Even if it's out loud, you have to make them accountable, because they're responsible for the words that come out of their mouths. Like I said, we had a president last night that did a State of the Union, and he was loud and obnoxious and agitating to the audience. He did not care. He got very loud, just like she in this Zoom call. She did not care, and then kept going because the mic was off, and it was no way to have heard. So that's all I wanted to talk about, and put this out there for y'all to see and for you to know that, yes, this is happening on every scale of education, every scale, more than you know. And you heard it first from me, somebody that's a subby in school, that you do have toxic teachers teaching your kids. Sorry. I have a 8-year-old. I make mine to ask my baby how was his teacher, people around him. Was he okay? I communicate with the teacher. I leave the forum open for them to communicate with me on any issues and concerns that they may have about him. If he does anything at school, luckily I haven't had to have any problems as of lately. And so, like I say, seen at my child's school different scenarios and situations where like problems between the teacher and parents. So it's just something that needs to be reviewed. It's something that needs to be spotlighted and talked about more often, because the kids have to deal with a lot, and to have to deal with teachers that don't like them. And I'm telling you, in these schools, there are teachers that not like kids. They are teaching these kids. And so that's all I have to say. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good night.